The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is hump day in the Riv after a highly overrated snowstorm, which we had to not have a show Monday. So we got a lot of making up to do. So let's go off to our Starfleet Admiral for the coronavirus report.
Okay. Total number of cases in Massachusetts, 502,378, with new cases being 1,963. Looks like the cases are going down a little bit. Total deaths is 14,362. New deaths is 45. Bristol County had 50,785 cases. Fall River has 152 cases. The city is saying that 50 of those cases are because of a glitch in the state reporting system. Those 50 cases came from January 23rd to now. That gives us a total of 11,456 total cases. We had 2 new fatalities, bringing us up to 289. And while we're still on COVID, people are complaining that they can't get appointments for the COVID vaccinations. Starting next Tuesday, not right now, next Tuesday, they will be opening up the window again for people to start logging in to CVS, Walgreens, and the state sites to apply for an appointment to get your COVID vaccine. Do that early because those appointments are going to be stolen real fast. I believe that CVS received 250,000 vaccines, and that's for 11 or 14 locations. That's not a lot of vaccine to be going out to 11 locations. So be sure that you log in early to get your appointments. Calling or showing up doesn't help you. So you're just wasting your time. Just log in and get your appointment. The state is supposed to be coming up with an 800 number for you to call in to register, I believe to register, or at least get the information on how to register for more vaccines. As soon as that number becomes available, we'll report it here on Spindle City Straight Talk. So we're always a wealth of information.
Yes, and along those lines, I will throw kudos out. I know you did cover some vaccine information in the weekend flush. So for you people who don't read the flush, it contains not only political information and some good reading about the political machinations, especially in the city of Fall River, but CJ included a pretty informative little thing on the vaccinations and stuff. So actually, I found it interesting about the South African variant was 50%, they said. But again, these things are all, as you said, they're all their opinion. But good information on the flush. So read the flush because, you need to educate yourself. This is my segue to getting into some of the other things that we talked about on the flush and politics in general. You have to educate yourself, people, because you cannot trust mainstream media for accurate information. You can't trust the government for accurate information. You can't trust any of the billionaires because they're manipulating the society. We see misinformation all the time. They do not cover the news regardless. We have not seen virtually any reporting about Antifa and BLM riots in Portland and Seattle. But somebody just released a book who infiltrated Antifa and talked about the fact that this is obviously, it's not a myth, it's a gang, it's a cult. And he said that they actually, they want people to murder what they perceive as fascists. But we knew that anyway, because we even had a Rhode Island College professor say that. So this is my thing for today. We're done with some of this stuff, and weather will be breaking soon, and Citizens Alliance for Accountability of Government will be looking to do some things, getting candidates to run, talking about undoing this disaster of a charter, which we can touch on later, and what happened, and underrides. We're going to do a lot of things because, listen, it's obvious that the government has sent you a message. The Democrats, who always pretend to be so concerned about everybody, especially the poor people, yet as soon as they get in, they show that that's a total lie. They're the ones that were the chicken hawks. We're always in a war with Obama. And now one of the first things he did, and not a lot of people know it, Biden has sent troops into Syria. American troops, again, in foreign lands, being exposed to being killed for the sake of what? The people have not been told about why troops are being sent. But we have the same guy that actually sent troops into Syria a while ago, and he said they didn't go far enough. The Democrats love war because most of them have interests in the military-industrial complex. But the show of strength, I actually predicted it. I was talking to somebody about them calling out the National Guard. They wouldn't call out the National Guard when they were destroying businesses and killing people in Portland and Seattle and in other places. But as soon as they get in, now we got a National Guard presence there till probably March. That wasn't for their safety. That's to show you, the American public, that you cannot rise up and overthrow this government unless you do it the way we always say, at the ballot box. They're telling you they're going to run you over like they did in Czechoslovakia. The Russians did, like they did in Tiananmen Square. They will crush you. This is not 1776. We're not fighting a British army that has to come over by sailing ships and takes a very long time, and their logistics a week, and you can fight them in a little guerrilla war with muskets. They have the army, and they're telling you, you will not overthrow this government. But that's not the way we're supposed to overthrow it anyway. Our forefathers established this country so we could have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, a different opinion. And they told us to change the government, and they gave us the vote to do that. So when you're upset about what's happening on the federal level or in the city of Fall River, remember there's an election coming up next November. Show your interest. Take back our government. It's the only way, because soon we will have a totalitarian government in this country. It's just our way or the highway. The billionaires, this is a class war. Make no mistake about it. They're trying to make this a label war. You're this group, that group, or the other group. This is about rich people, rich congressmen, and rich Fall River people controlling the environment and controlling everything. Now, I know that the vote is coming up on a superintendent's contract, and they still are refusing to give us, and I know you touched on it in the flush, they're still refusing to give anybody the report. So we've hit the jackpot in this city. We have hit it. You go to the casino, you get 3 cherries, 3 diamonds, 3 jackpots. You get everything. We got the 4. We got 4 lines here. We have cronyism, collusion, corruption, and a cover-up, all in one neat package in the school department. We saw the cronyism with the jobs. We see the collusion to stop the people, the taxpayers of Fall River, and even the legislative body from getting information. We see that action smacks of corruption, and it all ends up with a cover-up. So people of Fall River, remember this. Remember what's going on. Demand the information. And people, get out there, run for school committee, run for the city council. Let's take back our government the right way, because we've hit the jackpot. We got the 4 C's. Remember that. Remember that. Cronyism, collusion, corruption, and cover-up. That's what all of those elements are in the superintendent of schools. A guy who's left a trail of lawsuits throughout the state. They won't share their information, but get on there and Google Swampscott, Matt Malone. He was sued. Brockton, he left 2 years early. All these places, this guy's left a trail of carnage behind him. And because of cronyism, because somebody got a job, because they want to cover it up, because they want to be able to do this and get away with it like the politicians always do. All you have to do is look at what happens in the world. Look at the lawyer that started the Mueller investigation by lying. He pled guilty to a crime that ruined people's lives, and the Mueller investigation cost $32 million of taxpayer money for nothing. It was based on no information, based on lies. And you know what he got? Probation. Probation. That's what he got, a slap on the wrist, and the Democratic appointed judge said, well, he suffered enough because he lost his job. He lost his job. He's an attorney and a federal and a member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And he committed perjury, lied on an application for a warrant. And he gets probation. You try that. That's like they all get away with it, like Malone. Whether it's this guy, that all politicians ever do is get a slap on a wrist where you go to jail. This is a class war. It's the rich against the poor. And the only way we can take back our country, because the only thing we have working in our favor is there are a lot more poor people than there are rich people. And if you smarten up and begin to become politically active and vote, we might be able to change. We might be able to take back some control over this city and ultimately this country. All right, CJ.
I have no idea where you stand. Oh, God. It's amazing.
Well, I know one thing. You revealed 2 things that I want you to get into. That's why I went so long. I wanted you to get into 2 things I think are very important. You talked about this meeting of this group that you saw, and you also talked about the mayor has, they were looking to appoint some people to that committee or something, and you said that there was actually an inaccurate statement made by a city councilor, and they supposedly there were 4 candidates, 2 of whom were mayoral favorites, and so they've narrowed it down to the mayoral favorites. So you want to really throw the scrutiny of the spotlight on these 2 things, because you and I had a little conversation about it.
Yeah, well, yesterday we had 2 meetings that were publicized. One was from the city council. That meeting was in regards to having the appointments to the CPA held by the city council. They have 2 appointments. There were 4 candidates that had presented their resumes. And according to City Councilor Pereira, one of those candidates, Rick Mancini, wasn't able to take on another committee because he is already serving on 2 committees, and the charter limits him to serving on 2 committees. That's wrong. The charter says 1 committee, 1 job. We've had court decisions which have changed that a little bit, such as elected officials. If you hold a job, you can hold a job of an elected official here in Fall River, and that's by a court decree. But the charter still says 1 committee or 1 job. So you can't be the city clerk and be on the licensing board. You can't be, the water meter reader and be on the zoning board of appeals. You got to be 1 job, 1 committee. That was done by the Charter Commission to encourage public participation in government and to make the positions available, not so that they're all political positions like we saw on the park boards, where the park board was stacked with all the mayoral appointments of people that were going to say yes to what the mayor wanted. Now, and of course, in all fairness to the mayor, he did say that he did that because he was taking a different direction with the park board than the park board at that time was doing. So 2 people were removed from the park board and 2 people were added to it. An attorney, according to City Councilor Pereira, stepped down from the position as a city council appointee to the CPA board because there was already an attorney on the board. So Pamela Liberté LeBeau said, well, then I want her letter withdrawing her consideration because there was no letter. All of these were Linda just saying, so-and-so's not doing it, so-and-so's not doing it. And that's not how it's done. And it just makes it look fishy. If people aren't going to accept the nomination for that position, or they don't want to be considered for that position, they should write a formal letter of rescission or withdrawal. I mean, it's that simple. And it just didn't set right with me. And when I spoke with a city councilor that's on that committee, and there were only 3, it didn't sit right with them either. So they felt the same way that I was feeling, that, are these people mayoral appointees that are mayoral acceptance? The mayor accepts them, even though the city council appointees, the mayor wants these people in. Because remember, Chris Gallagher said it very clearly in a park board meeting at one point. They use the CPA money to backfill the budget. And all we hear from the city is that the budget is suffering and there's no money. Therefore, do they need people on that CPA to backfill those budgets? I really want to know, because it's getting to be interesting.
It's illegal.
It is illegal, but it's getting to be
illegal.
And this is why we want to get rid of the CPA, because of the abuses of the CPA. Political friends get this money. We don't get anything out of it. We get a historic preservation restriction on the deed, which is useless. I mean, it's very ridiculous. The CPA was a big mistake. It was sold to the people of Fall River thinking it was going to be something big. And guess what? Once again, the people of Fall River were lied to. Just like you were lied to about the debt exclusion, you were lied to with that. And let me tell you something now. You should be getting on the phone and telling the mayor, I will not see that debt exclusion put on the tax bills this year. It's not supposed to happen until 2023. That's what you promised when you were trying to get this passed, Mr. Mayor. That's what we're going to hold you to. It's time to hold the mayor accountable. He has not kept one of his political promises since he took office. He hasn't kept any of his promises on the debt exclusion. It's time for him to be held accountable. Hold your politicians accountable. Now, the meeting that really got me last night at 6:00 was the Cultural Council Committee. I had no idea what this committee was about. So I called the city councilor. Yep, I called the city councilor. who had no idea what this committee was about. All that this city councilor knew was that at one point they came before the council for appointments to that committee, which, by the way, the appointments can be from anywhere from 8 to 22 members. So you can see a lot of political people getting jobs there. As far as I know, they don't get paid. The way the meeting was run was an absolute joke. I think I saw every open meeting law violation possible during that meeting last night. So there's got to be a problem there. But their entire job is to give away money. It's just to give away money. As a matter of fact, last night they gave away $131,000. They gave away last night, and they were arguing over, well, we've got $4,005 left. So let's split that in half and give $2,000 to this one and $2,005 to that one. And I mean, they were just, and there were certain members that never said a word. They just sat there, humming. That's state money. That's not local money. But still, it's your tax dollars. And they were giving it to people like, the Fall River Little Theater, the Fall River Symphony, for their projects, for their programs. But we're paying them with tax money to do it, yet they still charge us a fee to see these events. You've already been paid for with tax dollars. How can you be charging us fees to see these events? It doesn't seem right. Do I think that these monies are paying for these projects? Do I think these monies are paying for these projects 100%? No, not on your life. But if we're going to be giving these monies to these programs, we should be getting something in return from it. And I don't see us getting a whole lot of anything in return.
Wow. What a surprise, CJ. A committee of politically appointed hacks giving out tax money just to other people who were involved in some organization that who are also political hacks. You and I have been around this city for a very, very long time. I never ever heard of this commission, ever. And they're handing out money, and there are people maybe who could. What's the criteria? What's the law here? We just got a text from one of our viewers that the agenda didn't even list the projects to be considered, which again,
exactly.
I'm sure there's going to be numerous open meeting law complaints. But I mean, here's a place that's giving us back our own money, by the way, and not only our money, but the money from every other city and town in the state of Massachusetts. This again is government at its best, giving away your money to rich political hacks and people who are connected, not the average person. And when we get back to that initial meeting with Linda, she should have known what the charter said. She's a counselor. She's been a counselor for a very long time. And if you're going to discuss that and make that statement, you should have checked the charter. It's not two. But then again, who cares about the charter? There's a residency requirement. There's a whole bunch of things that the public ignores. But this is what government does. It's like now there's a new study that says conservatives aren't being censured on media by NYU, and there's absolutely no evidence because guess who paid for the one of the billionaires commissioned the study, gave him a grant. And as we say on this show, not just now, but since this show's been on the air, anytime a politician looks for a study, the study always comes out in their favor because they're paying for it. They tell them what the conclusion that they want to get to is, and that's what the conclusion is. This is why we tell you all, don't take our word for it. Don't take anybody's word for anything. Do what we do. Research it. You have to, because it's outrageous what's going on in this country now. I mean, you can't trust anything you see or hear or read. But there's one common denominator. The very wealthy The very wealthy politicians, movie actors, whoever they are, athletes, they all got money. They don't care. They don't live in the sewers that they create. There were 21 murders this weekend in Chicago. 21 murders in Chicago. Riots, murders, never covered. But they care so much about the people. All they care about is their own power, and that's what they do. This is what they do. They're commissioning studies now. And now this morning, I was horrified. But Biden is now considering appointing I forgot what was the euphemism? A commissioner or whatever it is of reality. Yeah, that's right. That was my reaction, CJ. You know what he is? He's going to be the minister of truth. He or she is going to be the minister of truth. This transcends Orwellian. What's happening in this society? This is getting like China and Russia. The media is totally
this is more like Nazi Germany. This is more like Nazi Germany. The minister of propaganda.
It is exactly like Nazi Germany. And the people who call everybody else Nazis are the people who are doing it. Because anybody that has a different opinion is a white supremacist, a Nazi, a fascist. Yet they're the people who say nobody else has a right to a different opinion. And we're going to have a minister of truth. We're going to have, they're not allowed to be on any platform, which obviously, for you voters out there to give you a little incentive to vote, this is what the country was built on. You had a whole bunch of people that were persecuted in their native lands for their religion or for some other issue that came to the United States to say, okay, I'm not going to be judged on this. We're all going to be able to have the right to have our own opinions, practice our religion, have freedom of speech, regardless of whether we agree or disagree. And some of the most contentious debate that ever took place was in the Continental Congress. It's the American way to have other opinions. And without other opinions, as I always say, remember, the last time everybody marched in lockstep, they were doing the goose step. The Nazis. Because you can't have any movement forward without the old Hegelian theory of dialectics. You have to have a thesis, an antithesis, and when you have two divergent opinions, ultimately somebody figures out something in the middle. Thesis, antithesis, and a synthesis of the two. Movement is always made when there's questions, when there's discussion, when there's even dispute. Can't move forward unless it's like a bunch of lobotomized patients walking in a line, and that's what they want. Shut up and let the rich idiots run this country. And if you don't vote, it's coming soon to a theater near you.
Well, that's what everybody wants. They want their time they want their time in the light, and that's what's happening. Every politician, of course, gets in the light all the time, and we, the people, are kicked to the side as a nuisance. And we see this all the time, and we're going to be seeing that in this budget term, because I'm telling you now, if they start talking about putting in that debt exclusion now, people can barely afford their houses now. They can barely afford their apartments in the city. If the debt exclusion comes into effect, rents are going to go up again. If the water bill goes up again, rents are going to go up again. If the sewer rates go up again, the rents are going to go up again. Rents are already in the $1,000 area. If you can find an apartment less than $1,000, you're lucky. Or it's a pit, one or the other. So remember that. Keep tight. Well, we're out of time. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you on Friday.